creatures, cool vehicles, strange features of buildings, and funny planets, and occasionally the word Spore. My chief animator, Bob King, actually made these Spore covers, trying to kind of replicate what would it be like if you took the Spore universe back into that Hulk universe. Now, the other side of this is I've always been one to try to bring in reality in my games. I was really impressed by Stanley Kubrick in the way that whenever he did a movie, he did a huge amount of research, trying to really nail down the accuracy and the science of it. And so we tried to do that a lot with Spore as well. You know, some of the other inspirations for the game, Powers of 10, book in the movie by Charles Marines, who were from very small and very large. We did a documentary recently with the National Geographic Channel, where we went around and interviewed a lot of evolutionary biologists, went to the lab, and they were learning about evolution. They came back to our studio and played Spore, and they used Spore to kind of explain their current theories of evolution. And it's going to show actually the week that Spore releases on the National Geographic Channel, plus we're shipping DVD in a black edition. We've also been working very closely with the SETI Institute, which is again one of the major inspirations of Spore. These people are actually looking out the cosmos, listening for aliens to find out what they might be. At the same time, they're SETI with an S, which is the search for extraterrestrials, and they're SETI with a C, which is communication with extraterrestrials. And that's always been the mission in mind, because we've actually actively been broadcasting away from our planet at the same time we've been listening to it. So at this point, I Love Lucy, has been 55 years broadcasted out into space, encompassing about 1,400 planets, worlds, that can actually be receiving I Love Lucy. By the same token, Gilligan's Island is receiving about 600 stars, and I think Dukes of Hazzard is about 150. So it's interesting to realize that some of the first things they don't do to learn about us are going to be from these shows. Now, there's the generative side of playing games, where you're actually generating interesting storylines and stuff, but there's also very creative aspects. I think it's interesting, most people, kids especially, inherently have these creative aspirations, and they like to draw and make things. There was a guy that actually went into a kindergarten class and asked the kindergartners, how many of you can draw? And they all raised their hands. How many of you can dance? And they all raised their hands. How many of you can sing? And then he did the exact same thing with the university level class. How many of you can draw? Nobody raised their hands. How many of you can sing? Nobody. And so he concluded that evolution was the process of teaching us what we couldn't do. And that's the thing, so much. Most people would ask if they're creative or not. But really, they can be. Right now, we're finding that in games. Whenever we give players tools, they love making content. And the easier the tool is, the more excited, the more emotionally invested they get in what they're doing. And they especially like doing really weird things. One of their kind of favorite things is to find stuff that will surprise other players. And this is where they feel most creative. And they like to share that with their friends. The power of the collective effort, when you apply that many people to creative problem solving, is immense. I mean, I just cannot underestimate how impressive this can be. One of the things that we've seen, though, continually, is that you're always going to have this kind of power law distribution, where you're going to get a lot of stuff that's basically crap. You get something that's pretty good, and a very small amount that's really great, And so we started focusing more on the tools, and we realized a lot of this is really a problem with the tools. If we can bring up this curve here, the amount of area we get under this pretty good and great can be tremendous by improving the power of the tools we give the player. We did this feature creator for Spore. It's one of the parts of Spore that we actually released a little bit early because we wanted to get a sense of how players were using the tools. And we were actually capturing what players were making with the creatures in this. The idea is that we would release this feature creator a few months ahead of the actual game to start populating our database. The game's releasing on the beginning of September. What I was kind of hoping, based upon what we saw with the Simpsons, is that we'd get about 100,000 creatures in our database when the game launch. Maybe 1 million, hopefully, at the end of the year. Instead what we got 100,000. Right now, we currently have over 2 million unique creatures that are created in our database. It turns out that there are actually only about 1.6 million known species on Earth. So, that's that. 80 days. Well, I'm going to count it to about 7 days. That is basically embedded in our fan base. It dwarfs anything we could possibly make as game creators. So I'm starting to call that G, the big G, to distinguish it from gravity and small G. Kind of track apparently there was no limitation whatsoever. They made all these with existing creature created. We didn't think they'd be able to do humans at all. They did these little kind of interesting interpretations of humans. We didn't give it up on doing realistic creatures, which is why all the creatures you see in Spore are kind of like fantasy creatures. But that limitation didn't seem to affect them at all. It was amazingly realistic creatures in the game. The things they were discovering were amazing. They got these skeleton creatures. They found blood, and they made certain limbs invisible. They could make skeletons now, like these very hairy house and type things that move around really cool and creepy. Lots of good things that other creatures are. They didn't do anything about that and they do these things that are just cool. Maybe they're just artistic. So it's inspiring. And it's one of these interesting things where, like, if you make a movie, put the movie out there and people say, we love your movie, that's interesting. But as a game creator, you can put this stuff out there, and at some point your fans are entertaining you more than you've entertained them. And so there's this really nice kind of feedback that we're getting. We're getting as much entertainment from our fans now as they're ever getting from us. Now once they make this stuff, of course they want to share it. That's really kind of the next stage of this. We have an embedded YouTube upload in our creature creators, so we can actually make little films of your creatures moving around doing things and directly upload to YouTube. We've had, several thousand YouTube uploads already. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're doing a partnership with Plantwide to do this Mash-On comic book creator. And if you go to mashon.com/Spore, you'll be able to take your creatures that you don't Spore and actually lay out a comic book. Kind of set the panels out, take things that you've made in the game from assets. So you can kind of use the Spore creators and editors kind of alongside this comic creator and create the whole environment. And which is another form of storytelling. And I think players are going to have a lot of fun kind of making these things and sharing them with their friends. So really, I think a lot of this is going to be about the players who can create with leverage and doing things like these comic books and these YouTube videos and sharing them with each other. And so it's interesting how these games start as kind of like entertainment form, but then at some point transition over to a form of its own expression. And I started seeing people making movies with things like this and I was not really Spore that are very deep and meaningful to them. In some sense, one of our aspirations for Spore was to put players in kind of that position. Most games would put you like in the wall of Luke Skywalker or Frodo Baggins. But with something like Spore, what I really want to do is put the players more in the role of George Lucas or J.R. Tolkien, where they're the ones creating the worlds and playing out the experiences within them. So really the overall concept of Spore was going to be the whole universe from very small to very large. But also from the history of life all the way into its future. And really, it was these two parts that I think really define what we want the players to experience in the Spore game. We also ended up embedding a huge amount of fun cultural references in Spore that are just hidden in little bits and corners of the game that over time it's going to be interesting to see how many references players can actually discover because it covers so many different topics in so many different areas. So right now I'm going to switch over to here. Is this mic live? Can you hear me? Spore. I'm going to show you a little bit of Spore here. Now, I've shown a lot of Spore at different levels, different times. Usually I spend a lot of time on the creature editor and stuff like that, but since everybody can download it, if you want to download our creature editor, you can go to spore.com and download a simple version of it for free right now and try it out. It's a more elaborate version, it's like $10. But this time I was going to show you a little bit more of the later stages of the game. This is a civilization planet here, and this is the same game that's been played through. So at this point, this is most of the way through the civilization game, but it'll give you a sense of some of the depth and variety within the game. In the civilization stage, you're actually building entire cities and basically growing your nation. And there are different strategies you can kind of use to kind of capture and unify the planet. And that's what gets you to the next stage, which is the space stage. And again, almost everything you've seen here, there's an editor for. So the creature creator is the thing that we've already released to the public. But at this stage of the game, we have editors for your ships and your tanks and your buildings, your city. We even have a embedded music editor who can go in and find the theme of your city, the musical theme. And you're playing